welcome to Books and Crafts. I'm Angie Lucas with Elle Publishing Company, and this is my good friend Wendy Smedley.
And we are so excited to be here today. Our topic is all about capturing conversations. Okay, what do we mean by that? You may be a scrapbooker, you may be a crafter, you may be a journaler, it doesn't matter. Regardless, you're gonna find some value in capturing conversations. And I recently was listening to an interview of a gentleman who had written a bunch of books about Beethoven, the composer. And the one thing that I remember from this was he discussed one of the reasons why so much is known about Beethoven is because of his deafness, he used what was called a conversation book to converse with people that would come to his house or whatever it was he was working on. So he had a physical book and he would write the question or the statement and then give it to the person or persons, and they would write their response or ask a question, and those are saved. In fact, you can actually purchase books that include images from those conversation books, and then of course they're transcribed so they're easier to read. And I just found that so fascinating to think about incorporating into our daily life.
That is interesting, and I know today we have a lot more advanced ways to record conversations. You can do that with the video or texting or audio, but there's also that fun tactile feel of recording something in a printed form,
yes.
With your handwriting or in some other way that can be read. There's just something that I think is fun and nostalgic about that. So we want to share with you one fun way that we discovered for recording a conversation between you and the significant other in your life.
And let's just say you're recording, but you're also asking, we include the questions to ask or the statements to ask, which I think gives it an added value.
Yeah, you get to decide what the conversation,
yes.
kind of where it goes. Well, it's kind of a guided conversation.
Yeah, so it's good to have both.
And that is featured in our ebook called Quick and Creative Quizzes, which is available at ellapublishing.com. It's just $5.99, and it's full of different quizzes and questions that will help you unlock different parts of your personality and different memories. And there's a couple that are interactive that involve more than one person.
They're pretty fun.
And they are super fun. And there's one that is actually a back and forth banter quiz between you and your significant other. And I'll show you what that means. But the way that it works in the book is that you will see in the ebook, there is the quiz questions kind of printed out for you. And you can either just, type those onto a sheet and use that with your significant other, or, you can, like Wendy typed them herself to create a layout and I typed them myself, but we also have a product we'll show you in a minute that's all typed out for you. You just print it and use it on a page. But let us show you kind of what the results are when you use this fun quiz, which we call the Couples Conversation Quiz. This is my layout, and it includes one of the very first pictures that I have of my husband and I when we first got together, and it has, I've just stamped this background and then typed the quiz questions on the stamped background and then ran it through my printer, and then I hand wrote our answers, and it's kind of fun. I'll share that with you. So the question is, can you guess what I love most about you? She, is it? Then that's where you fill in the blank. And I wrote, my winning smile and luscious locks of dark hair. And he says, correct, because that's always the answer, correct. And I also love your tender heart, you keep me nice. So one thing I love about this is that it actually includes my handwriting and his handwriting. And my handwriting is all over the place in my scrapbooks, but his is more rare to show up in the scrapbooks. And I love that, I kind of forced him to give me some compliments on paper here by asking him to fill out the other half of this quiz. So it's a fun interactive experience, and it's fun to have this kind of a banter saved on a scrapbook.
Definitely, and I'm going to show you my version. And I, as Angie mentioned, typed all of our responses, and there's a couple of different questions, and I chose to include the answers that I liked the most. What can I say? And I'm going to read you one of them, and it's me asking, of all the gifts you've given me, do you know which is my favorite? So I'm asking this of my husband, Kent. And his response was it all the pajamas I have given you over the last 19 years? And then I responded, yes, that was a great one. I also love the chocolate fountain, so unexpected and indulgent.
I love it. And so the fun thing about this particular conversation quiz is that you can't, sometimes husbands don't like it when we ask certain questions, so they're afraid they're going to give us the wrong answer. This is, foolproof, because it kind of follows, it takes you through the whole conversation, and it always is like, you're right, I do love that about you, but I also love this, So it's just a fun way to capture what's unique about your relationship with your significant other in a conversation form.
You could do it at a date night, you could just set it up so it works out well.
And I want to show you the product.
Yes,
that makes this easier.
Oh, sorry.
You go ahead.
I was going to say, we have a couple things at Ella Publishing that are already ready for you, and one of them is a product on our Ella Fun page, and it includes, printables that go along with the quizzes and questions that are in the ebook.
Yeah, so the book has 10 quizzes, and then these are already formatted for you, so you don't have to do anything. You don't have to have any fonts. You just print them, and it's designed by Kathy Zilski, who designs our ebooks and is just a fabulous designer. And she has formatted all these printables, and it looks like this, where you'll see this mimics the look on my page, where you have the notebook style paper and then the printing there. And these are little guides right here that are trim guides. So you can cut it right out, and you've got this little conversation quiz that you can put right on your page. And it also includes a page layout sketch. That will allow you to show you exactly how to use this quiz on your page. And it's full of the trim marks, and everything looks beautiful, and it's typeset by a professional. So this is a fabulous add-on that will help you, get some of these conversations down on paper in the easiest way possible.
And I have to say, when I thought about the Beethoven conversation books, I thought, I have a friend whose daughter is getting married, and I thought this would make a really fun wedding gift to do something like this with newlyweds or, really anybody. And so I put these little books together, and they're just journals. And
they're darling.
I'll show you the idea behind them, and there's 2 of them, and I covered them with my scraps of pattern paper and tied with a scrap of ribbon. And so the idea behind them is that on the back, I've just, made a little envelope, and inside is some tags that have the questions from the compliments or conversations quiz that we just talked about.
We do also have a compliments quiz.
Yes, we do, because sometimes you've just got to ask. And so in here, there's probably 10 or 15 tags, and this one says, what 3 things do you think you are better at than I am? And so the idea is then, either it's the husband or the wife, and they can just take the question and then put it in here and answer it, and then they can place this somewhere in their home for the other person to answer back. And you can start this fun little tradition of talking and having conversations with each other and recording them. And you can turn it into fun, and you can also write your own questions and put them in the back, which might be another fun idea.
I love that. It would be a fun tradition to do on every anniversary, for example, and see how some of your answers have changed over the years.
Yes, and there's books for that type of thing, but why not make your own and really customize it and make it personal? Make your own conversation style Beethoven book.
I love it. Okay, well, speaking of books, let's move on to our book picks of the week.
Okay.
So
this is such an interesting book. The title, The Nobody's Album, I know, I told Angie and she was already intrigued.
I want to read it just because of the title. It sounds very intriguing.
And I love this book and for so many reasons, but the premise is the main character is a writer who is in her, the winter of her writing career, meaning it's coming to an end. And her last book that her publisher accepted is, it includes rewritten chapters of all of her previous fiction books. So I believe there was 8 or 10 fiction books. And so she went in, and in this book, she shares the original ending and then the rewritten ending. And the rewritten ending, of course, changes the outcome of the characters. And it's just so intriguing to think about, wow, what would it be like if this happened? And as she's doing this, she's meeting up and kind of reestablishing a relationship with her older son, who she's been estranged. So there's some conflict, and it's just absolutely intriguing and definitely worth your time. I love it.
Great pick. My pick this week is called The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, which is a little bit of a mouthful. I love this book because it's actually a book that it's a novel, and the entire thing takes place in letters. So our idea of conversations made sense. It made this kind of come to mind. And a lot of times that format of a book is a bit of a turnoff to me because it's hard to figure out who's writing which letter, and it's like sometimes can be a confusing way to get through a story, but this was so well done. And if you've tried to read this, I know a couple people I've read, it takes a few chapters to get into it, but it is well worth it if you can make it all the way through. It's set in World War II on this little island that's off the coast of France that's been occupied by the Germans, and just the story just comes through in letters from the different characters to each other, and there's so much history, and it's so rich with just detail, and it's just a very heartwarming, wonderful story, and I just recommend that. Okay. And it's a fun format. And we have to mention before we wrap up that something else that's interesting is there's 2 authors, and that's because there's a woman who worked on this book for 30 years and then passed away before she could finish it. So her niece took over, finished it, and got it published. So there's a really great story behind the writers. That itself a conversation of sorts that spans generations. I love it. Yes, me too. Well, thanks for joining us this week. We've had so much fun talking about conversations, and hope that you'll be willing to record a few of your own. And we'll see you next week on Books and Crafts.